Imagine having cosmetic filler on your face go badly wrong and being recommended turmeric lattes and massaging it with an electric toothbrush. Well, that's what happened to one woman, now waiting to see if she'll be permanently scarred. So do we need tighter regulation on who can carry out aesthetic procedures? I'm Lucy Watson and this is What You Need to Know. Well, joining me is Ellie Pitt, who has been covering stories involving the aesthetics industry for some 18 months now. I've kind of got my timings right. I think your first one you said was October
2023, yeah.
And now you're at a point where people actually get in touch with you with their stories, their horror stories, sadly, quite often. So first off, Ellie, I mean, I've, of course, heard of Botox for frown lines. Instantly, I touched my own. And, heard of fillers, lip fillers mainly. But this one I hadn't heard of. So just tell me a bit about this one.
Yeah, so these are cosmetic injectable procedures, also known as non-surgical cosmetic procedures. And facial fillers can be injected pretty much anywhere in the face, but traditionally lips, cheeks, temples, and Mariam Mohammed had gone to have it injected in her chin. And often,
never heard of that. Why the chin?
So often it's part of what's quite a big trend at the moment called like facial balancing, and it can make the chin look more plump, more full, and more sort of symmetrical in line with the cheekbones and the nose. So yeah, it's a very popular procedure. I mean, last year alone, there were more than 250,000 facial filler injections done in the UK.
Oh my goodness. And as you say, you met a lady called Mariam who'd had it done.
Yes, so she had, it's like so many women and men in the UK, she had this appointment in her diary once a year for a top-up of facial filler, and this January she wanted chin filler. But she says that when she went along and had that appointment, it didn't go to plan like it usually does.
Every time she did sort of go in with the needle, the product wouldn't come out. And she would say it. She said, "Oh, it's not coming out, it's getting stuck." And then the final time she went in and squeezed, I instantly went numb. And I said, "Oh, I've gone numb. Is it working?" And she said, "Yeah, it's working." It's just devastating. You're slowly seeing it get worse every day as well. Honestly, you think I look like a monster, and then you feel like one as well.
It does make you wince. It does make you squirm a bit. It's your face. What ended up happening to her chin?
So she was told by a private doctor that she eventually sought help from that she had had what's called a vascular occlusion. It's when the filler is injected directly into a blood vessel on the face and blocks the blood supply to the skin. When that happens, you get something called necrosis. That skin tissue starts to die, and she has now potentially got scarring for life. She's waiting to find out how deep that damage has gone and whether her skin will ever recover.
I mean, when you say skin dying, it feels so dramatic, so awful. Who did it? Who carried out this procedure?
So Mariam had been going to an aesthetic practitioner called Narushka Henriquez at the Batonics Plastic Surgery Group in London on Harley Street. For 7 years, she'd been a client of theirs. She'd gone once a year for top-ups and had a relationship with the practitioner, with Narushka, Miss Henriquez. This time, a complication occurred. Ms. Henriquez is a mental health nurse prescriber and, according to her website, has been practicing aesthetics for more than a decade.
Did they help her?
So 2 days after her initial appointment for the chin filler, Ms. Henriquez saw Mariam again and injected a product to try and dissolve the filler. But after that appointment, over the following few days, Mariam's condition got worse and the state of her skin deteriorated, and that necrosis, that skin tissue death, set in. Doctors have told us that time is tissue in that situation, and it needed to be dealt with urgently. What happened was when Mariam was telling Ms. Henriquez, "I'm anxious, I'm worried, I'm desperate, I'm struggling with my mental health and coping with this," Ms. Henriquez was telling her to drink turmeric lattes. She advised her to...
And that would do what exactly?
reduce the inflammation,
Right.
perhaps might have been the suggestion. She also advised her to massage the area and asked her if she had anything at home that vibrated intensely, advised her to use an electric toothbrush to the area, and then later advised her on the phone to buy a sex toy. Mariam bought one over the internet, which arrived at her house. And then Mariam was doing her online research. She was suggesting things to Miss Enriquez, like an ointment. And Miss Enriquez said that she would let her know her final conclusion on that later on, and eventually said, actually, no, I think taking Viagra to potentially dilate the blood vessels would be a safer alternative.
Presumably, though, that Mariam didn't feel like this was perhaps rock solid advice then.
By the end of those few days, she told us that she felt that she was being experimented on with Google searches and that the pair of them were doing the same online research at the same time. And Mariam told us that she felt in the end she had to seek help elsewhere and approached a private doctor who began treatment with her immediately that included using an ultrasound device to directly flush out the filler that was blocking the blood vessel. And then she began oxygen therapy in a hyperbaric chamber, which helps the healing of the wound.
Mariam, in this instance, how did she explain to you what she'd been going through?
The psychological and emotional toll is huge on the clients and patients that I've spoken to when things go wrong. They feel a sense of desperation, a slight sense of embarrassment. These are procedures that you opt to have, but they're often born out of places of insecurity and a hope that you'll look better in your appearance and more confident. And the kind of the knockback and that sense of, I was trying to look better and now I look even worse than when I began, in their opinion, is a really I feel that really strongly when I speak to them, and your heart goes out because they're often dealing with questions about what they're going to look like in the future. You know, Mariam's been told by doctors that skin healing and repair could take more than a year. She just doesn't know what her outcome's going to be like.
Well, we have named the clinic and the practitioner in this chat, Ellie. What have they said? What's their response been to?
Well, we approached them for a comment and they have told us that we regret on this occasion our patient experienced a very uncommon side effect from an otherwise routine filler injection. Having thoroughly reviewed her treatment, we strongly deny any allegations of wrongdoing or inadequate care. We started treating the issue with the protocol recommended by the manufacturer of the filler as soon as the problem was identified, and it's unfortunate that this course was interrupted before it could be completed. This treatment has since been thoroughly reviewed by 3 independent medical specialists, and we maintain that it was the most appropriate approach in the circumstances. It would be inappropriate for us to comment further while legal proceedings are ongoing. That's from the Batonics Plastic Surgery Group.
So, I mean, if I'm full disclosure, Ellie, I know a fair few medics who have diversified into aesthetics. I remember going, I had a dentist when I lived up in Manchester, and he said that his wife was branching out into this. And was I interested? I wasn't. I was much younger then. And, a GP mum at the school that my 2 little boys go to, I know that she does it too. What are the laws, rules, legislation around this, allowing, or I suppose even restricting people just deciding to do this? I mean, for example, could I just set up a clinic if I did a bit of training?
You could go on a training course and you could inject me with people with no medical background, no medical qualifications.
Just to reassure our listeners who can't see Ellie and I, we are not going to do that.
We are not going to do that. We're not trying this at home. At the moment, in the UK, there is no law or regulation
that just
about
seems
who
bonkers,
can perform this.
doesn't it?
It's internationally, completely. People find it in the medical profession bewildering that the UK does not have stricter rules about who can provide and perform these procedures. It's known internationally as the Wild West for cosmetic procedures. So what you've had happen as this industry has expanded is this massive division and quite passionate, should I say, but like quite heated debate about what should happen going forward. Should there be regulation? Should there be restrictions on who can perform it? And you've got two camps.
I was going to say, you have spoken to both sides. You've spoken to the ones who've trained and probably doing a great job, and you've spoken to the medical professionals. And what is the general?
The UK government says it's urgently working on regulation, and there's currently a parliamentary petition to create these rules and stricter licensing schemes to make sure that it's medics only who can perform injectables. And some of the reasoning behind that is because of what happens when it goes wrong and the complications that can arise from fillers. That can be blindness, these vascular occlusions and tissue death. So these are serious potential complications. But on the other side, I've spoken to many non-medics who have done, in some cases, tens of thousands of pounds worth of training, who have built up client bases, who perform safe procedures and have loyal patients who come back to them time and time again. And in some cases, their patients or clients don't want medics. They want people who are more in tune with perhaps the beauty scene and the beauty trends and what they're aspiring to in terms of their look and appearance. So
that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it in that way, because you just think, ooh, needle, medic, please.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a real cohort of patients and clients who really would opt for a beauty therapist. The one thing that I have found, speaking to both sides of this camp, is that they are united on one thing, and there should be a standardized level of education for people, and that there should be far more rigorous training and accredited training in terms of a level that is recognized within the whole industry.
When you say education of the client, the customer, or education of the practitioners? Okay.
Exactly. So that everybody is on a sort of similar page, and everybody seems to be on that page of patient safety.
Well, yeah, you would hope so. And how is Mariam?
She's on what she knows will be a potentially lengthy course of treatment, those oxygen chambers that I spoke about. She's having other laser forms of therapy as well, and she's recently had an MRI scan just to see how deep that damage to the tissue is going.
A bit of a waiting game to see
absolutely
how long-term the scarring is, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly that.
Ellie, thank you very, very much indeed for sharing your insight. Thank you. And you can find Ellie's full report at itv.com/news. And remember, you can subscribe to What You Need to Know wherever you get your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. And you can watch full episodes on Spotify, YouTube and ITVX. Until our next quick briefing, thanks for joining us.